Next, from the state capitol, Representative Dwight Kay is joined by other House Republican members as they release a legislative agenda designed to make it easier to operate a business and create jobs in Illinois. This runs about 30 minutes.
I want to welcome you all here. My name is Tom Cross on behalf of the House Republican Caucus, many of whom are here today. I think you know most of them. If you don't, let us know. But today we're introducing what we call a solid comprehensive jobs package that will give Illinois residents the hope that their General Assembly is working hard to help improve our state's economy, which translates to more good-paying jobs that are desperately needed here in Illinois. And we're here today, and we're thankful in this caucus to have the leadership of Representative Dwight Kay, who I think is one of the smartest, most successful business persons you will ever meet in this capital and perhaps in any capital in the country. He works hard. He deals with these issues on a day-to-day basis. And if you don't know that, not only is he a lawmaker, but he's the vice president of the nation's largest privately held transport company in North America, Cassens Transport in Edwardsville. Started there working in the mailroom and was promoted to loading docks and is now the vice president. So it's refreshing in the General Assembly to actually have somebody that understands these issues, who deals with them on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to turn over to Dwight in just a second, and he's going to go over this package of things we think will help jumpstart the economy. Does it mean there are not other things that we should focus on? We've talked, and you're going to see in this session, the concept of broadband modernization. We've worked on STEM research, math and science at the college level, and there are a host of other things we need to be doing. But these things are kind of the crux of what I think and we believe will help the business community. And again, I can't say enough of how incredibly integral Dwight Kay is to making this happen and putting this package together, researching it, and telling us what we need to do. So Dwight, thank you very, very much for all your leadership on behalf of our caucus.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that very much. Gathered with me today are leaders from various business groups. I appreciate their attendance today, as well as some state representatives who have come together with me to join in supporting what I think is one of the biggest initiatives the state of Illinois has ever seen when it comes to a growth package. And by growth package, I mean a pro-jobs package. I think there is little question that we are in deep financial trouble within the state of Illinois, and there's only one way, in my view, to legitimately work in the direction of trying to get us out of trouble, and that is pro-growth, creating jobs, letting people go to work so that they can spend money. And by spending money, then we can begin to realize revenues from legitimate expenses just like that. Of course, we have to watch our expenditures and cut some spending in key areas, and we've tried to do that with limited success because we don't get much help from the other side of the aisle. So let me just say today, and this package is big, so I'm going to try and whittle it down to an understandable size, and we'll be happy to take some questions. But let me just tell you from the get-go that the legitimate reform of workers' compensation is a big part of this package. When you talk to business leaders throughout the state, workers' compensation is always the first thing they mention is something that needs to be fixed. And these are not fixes that go back to 2006 or 2011. We start in 2013 with the legal cause of workers' compensation reform changed. In other words, it's no longer an accident that happens outside of the workplace, it's an accident that happens inside the workplace. So we have 7 bills that deal with various forms of workers' compensation reform, causation being the primary. We want to eliminate business regulation. Business regulation in the state of Illinois is a burden, it's a drain, and it stifles those people who want to do more and do it better. So we're going to go about fixing step by step the regulations, again, that cause businesses to consider leaving this state and, in fact, moving to other states. You look around, I might just say parenthetically, you look around, all of the states around the state of Illinois have already done this. Indiana, Wisconsin, Iowa has done a great deal to reduce their regulation. Wisconsin just recently passed a pro-jobs bill, and Missouri, as we speak, is in their second phase of looking at creating a better environment for business. We also want to make R&D permanent. We typically do it on a periodic basis where we say it's good for a year, maybe 2. We need to make it good forever. We need to put it in place permanently. Look, folks, people in business don't work on a 1-year plan. Many don't work on a 2-year plan. They work on a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and some as much as 15 years. It's very, very difficult for a business to set goals and have a business plan long-term when your R&D is not permanent. So I'm suggesting that we make it permanent, and we also include in there biodiesel. That's something that's very important to the state of Illinois and totally overlooked. In conjunction with these things, I'm also suggesting that we reduce the cost of setting up a business. I don't know whether you've compared state to state the setup cost of going to business in the state of Illinois, but it's really hard to go to work here because it costs a lot. Let me give you an example. If you want to set up an LLC in the state of Illinois, it's $750. I'm suggesting that we make at least a 50% cut in all of our costs, from LLCs all the way down. All states around us have set up charges that do not exceed $150. Let me say that again. Do not exceed $150. By the way, if you go online and set up a business in the state of Illinois, it costs you more, not less. We need to change that. It should be more efficient for everybody to do it online. It should be much quicker likewise. We need to accelerate the corporate tax rollback. Second to workers' comp, I think what I hear as a businessman from northern Illinois to southern Illinois is that the tax increase simply has been off the bottom line. It's been something that has kept business from growing. It's kept business from using their capital to buy equipment and expand their operations. We all understand that businesses need to pay taxes, but they don't need to pay some of the highest tax rates in the nation and hope to survive. I think we need to make it very clear today that job creators are not in business to lose money. And many of our businesses are losing money year after year after year, not because they're poorly run, but because the taxation in the state of Illinois is so high. We need to work on that rollback. We need to reduce lawsuit abuse in the state of Illinois. It's pervasive. We have 5 counties in the state of Illinois who have gained national recognition for having what simply is referred to as abusive lawsuit cases that continue to come to their courts year in and year out. We need to erase that. We need to do something differently than we've done in the past and not encourage lawsuits in the state of Illinois. Look, lawsuits, they help lawyers, and some of them are legitimate. But when you have the kind of laws that we have in place in this state, we encourage lawsuits to come to the state of Illinois. That's a business unfriendly practice. We all know that lawsuits will happen because there are legitimate cases. Those are fine, but the ones that are not legitimate, we need to push back to the state they belong in and keep away from the state of Illinois. Finally, we need to keep very close watch on the telecommunications industry. That's fast coming to a point where we need to expand, and we need to do it quickly so that business and citizens, for that matter, the residents in the state, are able to grow and expand quickly. And so the telecommunications business has some regulatory issues that they need to deal with, and we need to help them deal with those just as quickly. So in a nutshell, I'm going to stop there because I have some detail to give you, but I'm going to open it up to some Q&A after we hear from some of the business communities as well as some of the legislators who have joined us today. So if you will, Jay Shattuck, I think, a good friend who probably can give you a little opinion on the workers' compensation issues in Illinois, and then I can give you some details that he doesn't cover.
Great. Thank you, Dwight. Yeah, I'm representing here today the Tooling and Manufacturing Association, which workers' compensation is their top issue in terms of need for additional reforms, changes in the Illinois workers' comp system. The 2011 changes we felt were certainly moving in the right direction, but we have a long ways to go. Illinois, based on the Oregon Economic Development Study that's been going on for at least a decade, has indicated that Illinois is the 4th highest cost in the country. Prior to the 2011 changes, we were 3rd highest. So we have made some positive movement, but we need to get somewhere more in the mainstream for workers' compensation costs. And Representative Kay's proposals, especially the legislation dealing with causation, would go a long ways in moving us back into the mainstream of the rest of the country. Missouri in 2005 did pass a law dealing with the primary cause as being the ultimate responsibility of the employer if the injured worker has a proof that the workplace caused at least 50% of the injury, then it is a workers' compensation claim. In 2005, when Missouri made those changes, their costs have almost been cut in half in over an 8-year period. Illinois has seen a growth in costs since 2005 and we need to reverse that. So we support Representative Kay and his efforts in the Republican House caucus, and we'll do our best to see these proposals moving forward in this legislative session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Rob Carr from Retail.
Rob Carr, representing the Illinois Retail Merchants Association. We'd like to thank Leader Cross, Representative Kay, and the other members of the House Republican Caucus for their leadership in helping change the perception in Illinois, helping change the reality in Illinois that we need to create a more job-friendly and economic growth environment, whether it's addressing the real issue of workers' comp and building on the reforms that are already in place, or removing the frictional costs of doing business, such as the LLC costs that were mentioned, or helping us fight other anti-job issues, such as the minimum wage increase that's been proposed. We appreciate the leadership, the time and effort they're putting into it, and happy to support their efforts. Thank you.
And then from the small business community, Kim Meisch.
My name is Kim Clark-Meisch. I'm the State Director for the NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Business. We represent about 11,000 small business owners here in Illinois, and we're proud to be here today to embrace these proposals. It's a little bit different vision than we saw a few weeks ago from the same chamber when the governor announced his support for a $10 minimum wage increase, a job killer for sure for small business owners. And the package of bills today, you can tell, was written by someone who actually has had to make a payroll. It makes a big difference when we're talking about the real changes, the real reforms that will make this a better place to do business. Workers' compensation, I echo what Representative Kay said, #1 issue for small business owners in the state right now. We had some reforms a year or two ago, but it certainly didn't make a dent in the costs. So we applaud these proposals, and we look forward to working with the House Republican Caucus in the future.
And then talk a little bit about the abuses that he has seen in the lawsuit area. Travis Aiken from Iowa.
Thank you, Representative. I'm Travis Aiken with Illinois Lawsuit Abuse Watch, and I just want to make it very clear that yes, I am injured, and no, I did not sue anyone. Representative Kay is absolutely correct. What's going on in other states is something that we need to be concerned about here in Illinois. Wisconsin has already passed aggressive legal reforms, and over in Indiana, Governor Mike Pence has made it clear that lawsuit reform is a big part of his agenda. And if you look at the fact that Illinois, there's only 6 states that have a worse unemployment rate than Illinois, and there's only 5 states that have a worse legal climate than Illinois. I think those two are related, and I certainly applaud Representative Kay for his leadership and House Republican Leader Tom Cross for continuing to bring these issues to light, because we really need jobs in Illinois, not more lawsuits. Thank you.
Now, I don't think I've missed anyone. Now, for the legislative side, I understand that we do have some support here today. Mike Eunice, would you like to speak?
Good afternoon, everyone. Leader Cross, Representative Kay, thank you for bringing this forward. There's several bills in this package. Many of us are chief sponsors of some of these bills, and we hear all the time, from different entities, when someone complains, they say, that's great, you're complaining, but where's your plan? Well, this is a pretty comprehensive plan of how to fix a lot of the problems in the state. And on my way down here this afternoon, I was talking to someone and I said, look, we are putting forth a plan because this is important to us. We want to be able to right the ship. We're all very proud of our state, and we don't like to see our state in the situation that it's in. And on the other side, they said, well, isn't this just political? Aren't you just doing this for political reasons? Right? Absolutely not. And I was kind of taken aback, because on one side, someone says, where's your plan? And then when you offer up plans, which we're doing here in a very comprehensive measure, the other side, the same people that are complaining that where's your plan, are now those saying, well, they're just doing this for political purposes. It's my hope that we could do this in bipartisan fashion. We have a lot of common sense measures that will help turn the state around, and it's my hope that we can get some sponsors from the other side of the aisle to join with us on these situations. We know that we can do more in workers' compensation reform. We know that Central Illinois can be a mecca for specialized manufacturing. But what there is there's no certainty. There's large employers that are out to 2020 and beyond in their planning purposes. but yet the research and development tax credit doesn't give them that certainty. If we were to make that permanent, we might actually be able to have more plants developed and built here in the state of Illinois rather than going across the borders. So this should be bipartisan, and I'm hopeful that we can work with our friends across the aisle to get some bipartisan support to find the common ground to be able to have some of these common sense measures passed and move the state forward. Thank you.
Representative Bellick.
Thank you. I would just like to say the same thing regarding, I appreciate the leadership of Leader Cross and Representative Kay, who is probably one of the most influential businessmen in the state of Illinois. We know from what COGFA said last year that the data is there. There are only 4 other states in the United States that their numbers are going up in unemployment rather than down. Only 4 in the United States, so we know that. So we need to grow our economy. This is not a partisan issue. This is about taxpayers in Illinois, hardworking taxpayers in Illinois that deserve to have jobs. And that's the backbone of the economy of Illinois, jobs, people getting home to their families, putting their breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the table. That's what this is all about. We know that we have to roll back the corporate tax increase. I represent an area up in the east-west corridor where you have McDonald's, you have Tell Labs, you have Molex. All of those people come to me on a daily basis saying, what are you doing down there to help businesses in Illinois? Not just large businesses, but small businesses, the backbone of our economy. So here is a program that I think can lead us to growing the economy in Illinois. Thank you.
I'm David Leach from Peoria. I would make the point that we will never get out of this financial mess without restoring the business community and restoring jobs in Illinois. You cannot tax and spend your way out of this mess. We have to have jobs, and we have to have a climate that will encourage rather than depress investment. Second of all, there is no social program that can top a job. At every level, a job brings self-worth, dignity. The American dream is alive and well with a job. And this package is essential to not only our state's health, but to resolving so many other problems that we have today in Illinois. Thank you.
I'll just wrap up before we take questions and say this, that from my perspective as a businessman who has been in the business world for 40-some years, that Illinois is at a point in time where we need to see growth at a 3 to 4% rate. Other states are doing it, and we need to do the same. The reason that we don't enjoy that kind of growth is because we can't compete with other states, and that's the simple truth. This jobs package, this growth package, is nothing that we can do alone. We do need the help of the other side of the aisle, but I would just draw your attention, Deb, as you look at the details that go with this release, of the common sense proposals that are in this bill that I'm asking the House pass in legislative form. There are things that don't give any business an advantage with another business. It simply puts them on a level playing field with businesses in another state. We want to compete with Indiana and Missouri and Iowa and Wisconsin. In fact, we want to outperform them, but we cannot do that without, if you will, an omnibus growth package, which is pro-growth and pro-job. Without it, we simply will keep looking at the number 48, which we kind of rank at in the near future. So we want to change that around. We like to be 4th, 5th, or 6th, not 48th. So with that, we'll be happy to take some questions.
Tom, do you know, are you going to present all this as one package or break some of these elements up so that you might get part of the loaf instead of the whole deal?
Yeah. Actually, each one of these is broken up into separate bills. We have 6 different categories, and we have up to 7, I believe, bills in one category, 5 in another, but you will see 6 to 7, maybe 8 bills in each one of these categories addressing particular needs of the business community.
And I ask you, whomever, it's the worst kept secret in Illinois that you're going to have to, you know, the Democrats are going to push for to make the tax increase permanent. Is there any trade-off that would be considered here to say we'll go along with the tax extension if, on the other hand, you give us the jobs package?
Well, you know, any businessman that ever sits down to a table and negotiates a deal would be very foolish to not listen to what the other side has to offer. That would be very interesting. This jobs package, when we're all finished with it, is going to be 30-some bills. And if someone comes to me and says, look, we need to make the tax permanent for 30-some bills, I'd have to step back and say, what does that do to half of the bills in this package? I'm not sure that's a win-win situation. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Corresponding cuts for the rollback of the tax increase and the R&D extension, how does that fit into the budget?
Well, if you're asking what amounts that's going to remove from the budget revenue-wise, it's somewhere in the area of $460 million. And I think we need to, again, probably sit across the table and ask that question of our friends who, from time to time, have spent more money than we've taken in. I think that's a discussion we need to have.
Again, whomever, have you had any discussion with any Democratic members to see is there any interest in backing some of the proposals?
No, I have not. I have been working extraordinarily hard just to put an integrated program together which really is pro-growth and puts us back in a competitive mode with the states that are around us. I would say this, I think there will be a lot of folks across the aisle who will find some things of this package very compelling, very interesting to them, and in their district, very necessary.
And in your transportation business, you're multi-states, right?
That's correct.
Can you compare and contrast, again, what makes Illinois, I presume you would say we're a worse place to do business than many of the other states where you've done business. Why are we worse?
Well, you know, we could start with the various taxes we have on fuel. That's pretty tough on a transportation company. Some of the transportation companies located in Madison County have elected now not to buy or permit their trucks in Illinois. It's cheaper to do it in Tennessee or Kentucky. Those are two good examples right there. The process, though, of doing business in Illinois is just slow. And let me just cite one example for you. You don't go to business, and you don't go to work. You don't set up a business in Illinois in 60 days. And this proposal, if it passes, if we can put this through the House and send it to the Senate, this will put a business in place, up and running, and earning revenue within 60 days. Now, that's pretty fast for Illinois. But I would have to tell you that other states are doing just that. They're on a fast track to get people who want to work working.
Dwight, can I have just two observations? One, we introduced a packet a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, with some of these things and beyond that, and it was interesting to see the Democrats kind of came to us and embraced it. So I think clearly, as Dwight said, you know, you can be John Deere in Northwest Illinois down to Caterpillar and Dwight's company or up at Abbott Labs. This impacts and all the way to the small businesses as well. So, but one thing that's stuck with me since the work comp debate, if you talk to the folks at Caterpillar and you build a similar building in Illinois versus a similar building in Indiana with the same number of people, your comp costs are going to be 3, 4, if not 5 times more than what you're going to see in surrounding states. That's an example of why Dwight's bill is so critical for the same type of employment, the same scenario. It costs significantly more here. You're going to find similar answers also in the area of the tort system because of just the cost of litigation. So it does have an impact on, because of our, you know, we talk about this global world and this global economy. Our struggle right now is just the states around us and us needing to be competitive. It's a great package.
I saw on the last page that with the corporate tax rollback that increased revenue by about $500 million. It was like $480 million. How would the state make up that revenue?
Well, I think I commented earlier, the same question was asked. We spend a lot of time during the year trying to balance a budget, and we try and determine what are priorities, and we'd have to do that in this particular scenario. Look, we don't do enough of that. We're very quick to spend, and then we say, oh, where are we going to get the money? This is a case where we're going to get that money back through additional revenues if you put people back to work. We need 650,000 jobs, and we could create them if we put most of this bill, most of this package, most of this pro-growth initiative in place. 650,000 jobs, because that's the net loss we've had over the last 10 years. That's big. That's worth a lot more than $450 million. In fact, you'd be talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $7 to $8 billion that you could bring back into our revenue stream.
And then you talked about easing back regulations on businesses.
Yes.
What kind of regulations in specific were you thinking about rolling back?
Well, everything we do in Illinois, and just to give you an example, have you ever looked, and this may not be a regulation, so to speak, but it is a fee. You look at the structure of how we sell gasoline and motor fuel. We have a state tax, we have a federal tax, we have a county tax, and when we get done with those taxes, then we impose a sales tax on top of that. Now, I will tell you that a lot of states don't do that. They don't even consider it because they know that that's detrimental to the trucking business, to transportation per se. So they just don't do it. It's that kind of thing that we need to pull back from and say, look, enough is enough. We know that's penalizing business and keeps them from being successful.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.